What would you do when facing over 90 kilograms of muscle charging wildly through the dark? For us, that's not a rare situation. It's a routine part of daily work in the Mississippi Delta. In this world, every mistake comes at a cost. Destroyed crops, damaged property, and sometimes human safety itself. We are a rapid response team specializing in wild hog control, one of the most serious ecological threats in this region. Wild hogs don't just tear through fields in a matter of hours. They collapse levees, overturn farmland, and carry a range of dangerous diseases. Our work doesn't begin with action, but with observation. Deep tracks pressed into wet soil, freshly churned mud, or scattered corn. Every detail becomes data used to map the movement patterns of an entire sounder. Our goal is not reckless action. Instead, it's calculated control, minimizing risk to people and livestock while ensuring long-term effectiveness. Two corral trap systems, each about 6 meters long, are deployed at strategic points. When driven inside, the hogs panic, slamming into the netting with full force. But instead of rigid resistance, the net is designed to flex, absorbing impact and holding them without creating a breaking point. To make that possible, preparation takes days. The first phase is conditioning. The net is suspended high on T-posts nearly 1.8 meters tall. Beneath it, dozens of kilograms of corn are spread evenly, creating a sense of safety. The hogs come to feed, repeating the behavior multiple times without encountering danger. That familiarity becomes the key to breaking their natural caution. A few days later, the system switches to capture mode. The net is lowered, everything appears unchanged, except this time, there is no escape. Still, wild hogs are not easily fooled. Infrared camera data after 1 a.m. shows the entire group lingering at the trap's edge, using their snouts to pull bait without fully stepping inside. Not a single animal crosses the boundary. This is where patience is tested. One wrong move, and the entire operation could fail. Nearly an hour passes in silence. Then the lead sow, the one guiding the group, finally steps across the edge. It enters, probes cautiously, then begins to feed. Within seconds, the others follow. In that moment, everything changes. Once the entire group is inside, the system is triggered. The net drops, enclosing the entire space. Success doesn't come from luck, but from precise understanding of their behavior. The next morning, the scene looks like a storm has just swept through. Mud is scattered everywhere, the net stretched tight under the pressure of dozens of bodies trampling and struggling to escape. The noise is relentless, chaotic, yet the structure holds. We approach in a controlled manner, using specialized catch poles with cable loops to restrain each individual. Every movement must be synchronized and precise. There is no room for error. At another site near a livestock area, the situation becomes more complicated. A section of the net is torn, a sign that an individual had escaped before. We repaired it, but the connectors weren't strong enough. With their sharp memory, the hogs can return to that exact weak point. In cases like this, there is no room for risk. A swift decision is made to eliminate the threat before it spreads. As night falls, we continue moving between trap sites. Each location tells a different story, but all revolve around one principle: understand behavior to control behavior. At the final site, the most destructive individuals are contained inside. They charge the net in desperation, but there is no escape. The work continues until the last light of dusk fades. When the operation ends, the exhaustion finally sets in. But what remains is more than just numbers brought under control. It is stability restored to an entire region. With wild hogs, strength doesn't lie in muscle, but in their ability to learn and adapt. And if the strategy isn't precise, a single mistake is enough to render every previous effort meaningless.
No longer scattered signs. The change becomes clear every morning. The fields in Texas remain green during the day, but after just one night, everything is turned upside down. The soil is torn apart, crops are uprooted, and tracks stretch into clear pathways. This is not a few individuals, but an organized herd of wild boars. As the damage repeats, farmers are forced to shift from passive defense to active control to protect their crops. This process does not begin with traps, but with reading the signs. Repeated paths, compacted ground, and damaged areas are carefully recorded. Infrared cameras are installed along these routes, capturing the time the herd appears almost every night. From this, a strategy is built. Bait is placed according to their movement patterns, creating a sense of familiarity. Once the pattern is clear, setting traps becomes a calculated step. Instead of small traps, many areas deploy large circular net traps from the start. A steel post structure forms a wide enclosure capable of holding the entire herd. At first, the net is kept raised, allowing free entry and exit for several days. Bait is placed at the center, and cameras monitor the numbers each night. Once the herd becomes accustomed to gathering in one spot, the system is triggered, dropping the net in a single motion to capture them all. The initial results show clear effectiveness. No longer just a few animals, but dozens can be captured in one operation. Once trapped, they react strongly, pushing against each other and creating intense pressure in a confined space. This is pure survival instinct when cornered. That is why the net and anchoring system must be flexible enough to absorb the force without breaking. After the large trap phase, smaller cage traps begin to play their role. The remaining individuals become more cautious and avoid affected areas. At this point, small traps are placed in narrow paths or near fences, places they are forced to pass through. The limited space restricts movement and reduces escape chances. This is not the main solution, but a critical follow-up step. Even with a coordinated strategy, there's always a rate of escape. Some animals outside the trap zone may detect changes and retreat in time. That is why control cannot be completed in a single night. The system must be maintained, adding bait, adjusting positions, and continuing to monitor behavior. The goal is not to capture everything immediately, but to gradually reduce the herd size over time. The pressure does not stop at the fields. As natural food sources decline, wild boars move closer to residential areas. They rummage through storage, damage equipment, and even appear near homes. As the boundary between humans and wildlife shrinks, the level of risk rises significantly. Behaviors once limited to the wild now occur in living spaces, forcing people to adapt quickly. In many parts of Texas, control has advanced to a new level with the help of technology. Remote cameras, motion sensors, and automated trigger systems reduce reliance on human presence. Every decision, from when to close the trap to where to place bait, is based on real data rather than guesswork. This not only improves efficiency, but also reduces risk when dealing directly with the herd. In some cases, aerial observation by helicopter becomes a key factor. From above, movement routes become much clearer, paths cutting across fields and familiar stopping points. This data helps determine exactly where to place traps and how to prevent the herd from dispersing. When aerial monitoring is combined with ground systems, the entire area can be controlled more effectively. In the end, controlling wild boars is not a one-time action, but a long-term process. Success is not measured by how many are captured, but by how much damage is reduced and whether the herd is prevented from returning. When people understand behavior, use the right tools, and maintain a strategy with patience, balance with nature can be restored. If you find this useful, share your thoughts and follow the channel to explore more effective methods.
Bears rarely announce their presence with loud noises in the middle of the night. Instead, they approach quietly, often leaving almost no obvious signs at first. Large footprints pressed deeply into the damp soil behind the house, a slightly shifted trash can lid, or long claw marks on a storage shed door are usually the earliest indicators. Farm owners may notice these signs but often choose to ignore them, assuming it was just a one-time visit.
小鹿を捕まえたのはハッチは
This underestimation allows the early warnings to go unaddressed, making it easier for the situation to repeat itself over multiple nights without any real sense of caution or preparedness. Bears do not move randomly as many people might assume. Once they discover a reliable and easily accessible food source, they are capable of remembering its location with remarkable accuracy. Their strong sense of smell allows them to detect food such as grains, honey, or animal feed from a considerable distance. If their first visit is successful, returning becomes almost inevitable. At first, it may only be a single bear, but over time the frequency of visits increases. These repeated visits gradually form a clear and structured behavioral pattern that becomes more consistent and predictable with each passing night. As the signs begin to appear more frequently, traditional deterrent methods often lose their effectiveness. At this stage, the use of traps may be considered as a necessary control measure. The goal is not to confront the animal directly, but to disrupt the established pattern of return behavior. When food is no longer easily accessible, bears are forced to change their movement patterns. This helps reduce their presence in the area and prevents the behavior from developing into a long-term habit that becomes much more difficult to control, especially in areas close to human settlements. Over time, the repeated return behavior becomes a well-established habit. bears begin to move along fixed routes, remembering not only the location but also the timing of food availability. They do not need to cause significant damage initially to achieve their goal. Even a small vulnerability in the environment is enough for them to gain access. If they encounter no resistance, this behavior continues to repeat and becomes increasingly stable. This progression makes control more challenging if not addressed early and with the appropriate approach. As the frequency of visits increases, the level of risk also becomes more apparent. The range of bear activity expands, gradually moving closer to areas where people live and work. They begin to appear more often at night, searching for food near residential spaces. Under motion sensor lights, bears move cautiously but show less hesitation than before. As wild animals become more accustomed to human presence, the likelihood of direct encounters rises significantly. This creates situations that are unpredictable and potentially dangerous over time. In response to this situation, observation and trap placement must be carried out in a calculated and strategic manner. Farmers monitor the timing of bear appearances, their habitual travel routes, and the locations where they tend to linger the longest. Footprints, claw marks on trees, and images captured by night surveillance cameras provide valuable data. Once the behavior is clearly understood, trap placement can be determined with precision. The trap enclosure is secured firmly and designed to appear natural, allowing the bear to enter without suspicion. Bait is placed deep inside to ensure the bear fully enters before the mechanism is activated. Controlling bears is not about confrontation, but about adjusting the environment in a balanced and sustainable way. When easily accessible food sources are removed, the return behavior gradually decreases over time. Maintaining a safe distance between humans and wildlife is essential to minimizing risk. Combining multiple control strategies often produces more stable and effective results than relying on a single solution. With consistent monitoring and proper adjustments, long-term balance can be achieved, reducing damage while preserving safety for both people and wildlife. Along the edges of forests where they meet residential areas, the presence of bears is no longer occasional. They return, observe, remember, and once they discover an easy food source, trash, livestock, storage areas, they begin forming a dangerous habit. Once that habit repeats, simple deterrence methods are no longer effective. At a forest edge area in Northern America, the signs have become increasingly clear. Trash is scattered as if a small storm passed through. Tree trunks carry deep claw marks far above human reach. And on damp ground, large footprints form a fixed trail. This is no longer a wandering individual. This is a bear that knows the route. The control team does not begin with traps. They begin with observation. Infrared cameras are placed along movement corridors, not to capture every moment, but to identify patterns. After several nights, a clear pattern emerges. The bear appears at the same time, follows the same path, and pauses at a specific point before moving deeper into residential areas. Once the behavior is identified, the trap is set. Unlike smaller traps, this system is designed as a complete control structure. A cylindrical steel tube trap, over 2 meters long, with a diameter wide enough for a full-grown bear to enter without feeling confined. Inside, there are no sharp edges. Everything is rounded to minimize injury risk. But the decisive point lies in the trigger mechanism. Instead of using injuring clamp traps, this system uses a one-way drop door. Once the bear moves deep enough inside, its body weight activates the closing mechanism behind it. The steel door slides down quickly but without a harsh impact, just enough to block escape. Once inside, the bear has no way out. However, capturing the bear is only half the story. After the trap is triggered, the control team does not approach immediately. They monitor remotely through cameras to ensure the animal remains stable and not overly stressed. The timing of approach is carefully calculated, usually when the bear has calmed down. But not everything is always controlled in time. In some forest edge areas, there have been cases where bears move deep into residential zones without early detection, entering yards, livestock areas, or familiar human pathways. In close encounters, tension rises rapidly and people often have little time to react, especially when the bear has grown used to searching for food near human activity, making it more bold and likely to return repeatedly, gradually erasing the boundary between wild and residential space. The next stage requires precision. The bear may be sedated using specialized equipment, then health checked, tagged, and relocated to a suitable area, usually deeper into the forest, far from residential zones. The goal is not removal, but balance. But things do not always go as planned. If the trap closes too early and only part of the bear enters, it will learn and never return. If the scent is not natural enough, it will stop at the edge and disappear. And if the timing is missed when the bear is fully inside, the opportunity may be lost forever. That is why bear control is not a single action, but a tightly connected strategy. From observation, trap setup, scent guidance, to the exact moment of activation. As the boundary between forest and residential areas continues to shrink, systems like this are becoming the last line of defense. No noise, no chaos, just precise calculation, step by step. Because once a bear learns to return, the question is no longer whether it will appear again. The question is, next time, are you ready?
どうですか？
十分あるんじゃないですか。
If this herd makes it through the night, what's at risk isn't just a few crop rows or a small corner of a field. It could mean an entire year of labor wiped out in just a few short hours. In many rural areas of the United States, this is no longer a hypothetical. It's a reality that has repeated itself far too many times. When night falls, fields that seem peaceful by day become silent targets for roaming groups of wild boars. And before the sun even rises, dozens of hectares can be torn apart, as if an invisible storm had just swept through. What makes the situation dangerous isn't just the numbers, it's the speed. With wild boars, everything happens faster than humans can react. Once they've chosen a target, the window to intervene is almost non-existent. Statistics from southern states show that even a group of 15 to 20 can destroy over a hectare of crops in just a few hours overnight. But what's even more alarming is that they don't move randomly. Wild boars remember routes, recognize their surroundings, and learn from every encounter. Just one or two encounters with traps can cause an entire group to completely alter its path. The footprints appearing along the edge of the field tonight are no longer on the old route. They've shifted slightly, a small detail, but enough to suggest the herd is testing a new approach. And in wildlife control, missing this moment means losing the opportunity altogether. Sometimes, just one night of delay can lead to an entire season's failure.
Get a pole, boys.
There is no advanced technology here. No sensors. No remote controls. Just familiar farm materials. Things that have been used and refined through years of experience. Yet that simplicity becomes the advantage. Every trap placement is calculated based on the natural behavior of wild boars, guiding them through habit rather than forcing change. The bait is used sparingly, never too much, never enough to create suspicion. Because wild boars are extremely sensitive. A single unfamiliar scent, the slightest irregular detail, can make the entire group stop and retreat instantly. The goal isn't to lure them into a trap in an obvious way. The goal is to make them believe nothing has changed, that their familiar path is still as safe as ever. And as they keep moving forward, they unknowingly enter a space that has already been brought under control. Fast deployment does not mean rushing. It is the result of eliminating every unnecessary step through accumulated experience.
Put this bottom, yep, like that.
Everything must be completed before the herd arrives. When that moment comes, all adjustments must stop. There is no second attempt. No room for error. What has been set in place must be trusted completely. In the darkness, an unexpected sound breaks the silence earlier than anticipated. That is often when the herd begins to probe. They move closer, pause, listen, then decide whether to go further. This is the most fragile moment. The herd keeps moving. They pass through each control point without suspicion. No panic, no signs of alarm. And within a short span of time, everything unfolds exactly as planned. When the trapdoor finally closes, the number inside is almost unbelievable. A sight that is both surprising and a stark reminder of the true scale of the problem. Wild boars reproduce at an astonishing rate. A single female can give birth to 2 litters per year, each with 4 to 6 piglets. Without continuous control, the results of one night can become meaningless within just a few months. That's why what is achieved today is not just the protection of a single field. It is time, precious time, regained for farmers, for communities, and for the balance of the ecosystem. In the end, effectiveness does not come from complex devices or advanced technology. It comes from understanding animal behavior, making the right decisions at the right moment, and maintaining patience when it matters most. In this silent confrontation, victory does not come from strength, but from precision, experience, and a long-term responsibility to the land being protected.
At first, everything happened almost invisibly. A trash bin slightly out of place, a few deep scratches on a tree trunk, large footprints pressed into damp soil after a night of rain. No one saw it as a real threat. But within just a few days, the signs began to connect, like pieces of an unseen map. The bear was no longer appearing at random. It was moving in patterns, returning along the same paths at the same times, as if the entire area had been committed to memory. Once the movement pattern was identified, the control team didn't rush in. Instead of intervening immediately, they divided the area into two strategic control points, two gateways the bear was almost certain to pass through. One sat along the primary route, where tracks appeared most frequently. The other was placed deeper in, at the spot where the bear lingered the longest, where it searched for food and began to let its guard down. This wasn't just about setting traps. It was about building a controlled corridor.
There. It'll be a good one for the freezer. Get right down on your knee. You want a nice low.
What made the situation complex wasn't the bear's strength, but its memory and adaptability. It wasn't acting on instinct alone, it was learning from its environment. A reliable food source became a behavioral anchor, and with each return, it grew more confident, more precise, moving with almost no deviation. This calculated repetition turned even the smallest human error into a serious risk.
Look a little bit ugly, but what that plastic's going to do is
The first point. The area was left completely untouched for several nights. No foreign scent, no human trace, nothing that might raise suspicion. The bear continued to pass through, repeating its familiar route as if nothing had changed. But that very lack of change was the most critical preparation. When a moment came, the mechanism was triggered at the exact instant it entered the control zone. A fast, precise hold that stopped its movement along the very path it trusted most. However, surveillance quickly revealed another reality. The bear wasn't alone. New movements kept appearing on camera. Other individuals following the same routes, at the same times, as if they shared the same behavioral map. Clearly, a single interception point wouldn't solve the problem. The strategy had to expand, from blocking paths to controlling stopping points and
what's gonna real.
the second location, the approach shifted entirely. It was no longer a direct interception, but a controlled lure space. Food was placed in an area familiar to the bear, but not out in the open as before. Instead, it was arranged with depth, forcing the animal to move further in, step into a more defined space where its behavior could be fully managed. This process didn't happen overnight. At first, everything was kept safe. Food close by, easy to access, no pressure. Then gradually, the distance increased. With each return, the bear had to move a little deeper, stay a little longer. There was no force, only slow adaptation. And through that process, it began to accept the new space as a natural part of its behavior. Once the habit had been established long enough, the system was finally complete. The bear moved in, fully focused on the food ahead. As it crossed the threshold, the mechanism activated instantly. No widespread chaos, no disruption to the entire area. Each intervention affected only a single individual, keeping the others from changing their behavior abruptly. From those scattered early signs to the establishment of two control points, one intercepting movement, the other shaping behavior. It all came together as a complete system. This was no longer about setting traps in the conventional sense, but about understanding and guiding animal behavior. When a strategy is built on how they move and learn, its effectiveness lies not only in immediate results, but in maintaining long-term stability across the entire area.
Willow, she actually loves.
I loaded it.
For many years, bears were seen as animals that lived separately and avoided humans.
Yeah, get up there! Get up!
But as the boundary between forests and residential areas gradually blurred, encounters began to occur more frequently. These were no longer brief sightings, but direct approaches along trails, forest edges, and even near homes. The issue is not only the presence of bears, but how each encounter is handled by people. Bears do not move randomly, but respond to familiar signals such as scent, sound, and spatial memory. An area handled without control can become a reference point in their behavior. When an individual approaches humans without resistance, the likelihood of returning becomes almost certain. If this pattern is not stopped early, the level of risk increases with each repetition. After confirming the area, control teams deploy traps that match the level of risk. Among them, foothold traps are designed to secure the front limb without causing serious injury. Their curved structure and pressure-limiting mechanism help ensure safety during restraint. These devices are only placed at verified locations and are always paired with remote monitoring to prevent errors. When the target steps into position, the mechanism activates immediately, forcing it to stop moving. A signal is sent to the control center, and the rapid response team arrives on site without delay. The captured individual is sedated under controlled procedures and quickly removed from the area. The entire process is kept short, minimizing noise and leaving no traces that disturb the environment. If handled carelessly, a trap site can become a memory point in a bear's perception. But when done correctly, it leaves no noticeable signal behind. No reward, no clear danger, just a gap that prevents the behavior from being reinforced. This is the key factor in stopping future returns. In areas near residential zones, control protocols are even stricter. There are no gatherings, no spread of alarming images, and no individual left restrained on site for long periods. The goal is not only to resolve the current situation, but to ensure the location does not become a point of confrontation between humans and wildlife. Captured individuals are transferred to specialized facilities for behavioral and risk assessment. Depending on the results, they may be relocated to suitable habitats or managed under specific plans. Most importantly, they are not returned to the original location, where habits of approaching humans could form again. In reality, bear intrusions into residential areas are increasing. They do not just search for food in trash bins, but also break doors, enter homes, and cause property damage. Many areas have recorded hundreds of incidents within a short time, forcing some businesses to temporarily close due to repeated losses. Although preventive measures such as bear-resistant bins and limiting outdoor food sources have been applied, the situation is still not fully controlled. Some regions allow licensed hunters to participate in population control, but this approach carries risks and is strictly regulated. In the end, success is not measured by how many traps are set or how many individuals are captured, but by whether dangerous behavior stops. When the chain of approach is broken, the environment gradually returns to stability, and people no longer live in constant alert. If you find this useful, leave a comment and follow for more effective control strategies ahead.
For many years, bears were seen as symbols of deep forests, places humans only pass through. But as the boundary between settlements and nature narrows, bears now appear more often. They move along forest edges, cross fields, and search trash bins behind storage sheds. As the damage repeated, wildlife managers realized this had become a familiar route between the forest and nearby homes. Infrared cameras placed along the forest edge quickly confirmed it. Each night, they recorded the same time window and the same path. The bears seemed to memorize the trails and narrow gaps between the forest and nearby houses. The concern was not a single encounter, but the shrinking safety distance as they returned and gradually moved closer to people. In situations like this, rushed reactions rarely work. Chasing a bear can make it more cautious and push it toward routes that are harder to control. Because of that, management teams focus on guiding behavior instead of direct confrontation. The area is divided into several control layers using data from tracks, cameras, and activity signs to identify the paths bears most often use. The operation does not begin with noise or aggressive chasing, but with calculated silence along the forest edge, where narrow trails cross through brush and slopes. At key intersections, large cage traps are placed discreetly, blending into the natural landscape. Bait is set deep inside, forcing the animal to step fully into the control zone before the trigger activates. These traps function like invisible checkpoints. When a bear approaches and triggers the drop door mechanism, a signal is immediately sent to the monitoring center. There is no loud noise or panic, but the signal confirms the animal's behavior was predicted correctly. Its arrival is no longer a surprise, but part of a prepared plan. This allows the management team to stay in control rather than reacting afterward. The high and lower areas, near water sources or waste points, where bears often leave the main path to search for food. Secondary traps are placed to slow movement. These locations act as intermediate control layers, keeping the animal within the monitored zone and preventing it from moving deeper into residential areas. The goal is not to solve everything in one night, but to reduce immediate pressure. Closest to the residential boundary is the final control layer. Here, equipment is deployed remotely and monitored closely with cameras and motion sensors. A smart cage trap sits at a central but discreet location. When the bear approaches, it often pauses briefly, smelling the air before continuing along its usual route. That calm behavior shows the system is guiding it toward the prepared control area. That in many cases, the outer trap layer activates first, slowing the animal and forcing it to adjust direction. This gradually guides it into the main control zone. Without that initial layer, the distance from forest edge to neighborhood fence could shrink in minutes. The multi-layer system reduces risk and gives response teams time to prepare the next step. Once a trap is triggered, the handling phase becomes critical. The surrounding area is temporarily secured, and a rapid response team approaches carefully to avoid agitating the animal. Sedation and transport follow veterinary standards to ensure safety for both people and wildlife. In many cases, the bear is also fitted with a tracking tag before relocation. It is important to understand that traps are only one part of a broader wildlife management strategy. When used correctly, they are not symbols of confrontation, but tools that help maintain balance. If you found this useful, follow the channel to explore more stories about safe and sustainable wildlife management.
No one expected a scene like this to unfold in the middle of a city. A wild boar charged straight through a glass door, the crash echoing across a residential area. Just hours later, another group appeared on the beach, running along the shoreline under bright lights and rising panic. Cameras captured them crossing roads, overturning trash bins, slipping into neighborhoods as if this place had always belonged to them. No distance left, no boundaries anymore. As the damage spread, control teams were forced to step in. In Texas, this had become a familiar scenario. Helicopters circled overhead, scanning forests and open fields, revealing the herd's movement routes. Overlapping tracks formed repeating paths, almost following a fixed rhythm each night. From above, these invisible roads began to emerge, and from them, a strategy took shape.
Check.
Instead of acting immediately, the team chose to observe. Infrared cameras were installed along key movement corridors. Each night, data was recorded with precision. The timing of the herd's arrival, how they approached food sources, and how they reacted to even the smallest environmental changes. Nothing was rushed. Every step depended on understanding behavior before intervention. When all conditions were met, the first trap was deployed. It was a smart enclosure system, blending seamlessly into the environment, with no noise or unusual signs. Bait was placed inside. On the monitor, each animal appeared, stepping in cautiously before gradually lowering its guard. When most of the herd had entered, a command was sent. The steel gate slammed shut in an instant, silently holding nearly the entire group. But not all were captured. A few individuals remained outside, retreating just in time. They watched from a distance, learned quickly, and disappeared. These few changed everything. After just one encounter, the herd's behavior began to shift. Closed structures were avoided. Even the smallest irregularities were detected. Their caution intensified, making initial methods less effective over time. Faced with this, the strategy had to evolve. Instead of small traps, the team built a large circular enclosure in an open area. No roof, no sense of confinement. Wide entry points made the structure resemble a natural feeding ground. At first, the boars lingered at the edges, but with no sign of danger, they moved deeper, more freely, gradually forming a habit of returning. The acclimation process lasted for days. No sudden interference, no signals that could trigger panic. Only when the entire herd was fully inside did the decisive moment arrive. Two large gates dropped simultaneously from opposite sides, cutting off every escape. The impact echoed as the herd surged against the barrier, but the circular design absorbed the force effectively, leaving no weak points.
Too terrible.
The final operation was carried out near a dry zone by the lakeshore, identified as a critical movement route. An even larger trap was constructed, with every parameter carefully calculated in advance. One by one, the animals entered cautiously, unaware that the entire space was already under control. And when the final gate closed, it was over. No more nights of torn ground. No more herds returning to disrupt the fragile calm. The next morning, transport began. Teams used mobile fencing combined with gentle sound cues to guide the animals in a controlled manner. No rush, no panic. Each group was loaded and transferred to designated management areas, becoming part of a long-term, sustainable control strategy. In the end, this was never a battle of strength. It was a battle of understanding.
Oh, he's a big one! Pull, Lily! It's right there. All right.
Every trap works only when it reflects how the animal thinks and reacts. And only when humans adapt faster can we truly protect crops, water sources, and the delicate balance of nature. If you want to explore more real-world control strategies like this, follow the channel and share your thoughts.